Do you have digestive problems like bloating, diarrhea? Do you have nutrient deficiencies that are showing up with things like tooth decay, cavities, or arthritis or other issues? Have you had your gallbladder removed because you had a gallbladder attack? Well, all of these things are actually related. So let's jump into the gallbladder. What does the gallbladder do? And what do you do if you've had it removed? Doesn't matter. You know, it's always interesting to me that we have these bodies that are put together in a certain way and everything works together, right? Our bodies are big communities of cells, and these cells live in neighborhoods that we call organs and systems. And they all communicate with one another and they all do their own job. But we've just decided as modern medicine that we can take one of these, neighborhoods out completely and nobody's going to miss it. Well, it's actually not completely true. The gallbladder does a lot for us. The gallbladder itself concentrates something called bile, and bile is essential for you to be able to metabolize and digest fatty foods. The bile literally will break apart the fatty food and make it so that it's soluble, or your body can pull those nutrients in and utilize them in the cells. So when you think about fats, what comes in fats? Some of the most essential vitamins. Dr. Weston Price in the 1930s learned that people that were healthier, that had healthier mouths, that had healthier bodies, stronger bones, better fertility, all of these things were related to higher levels of something called fat-soluble vitamins. Which vitamins are these? They're vitamins A, D, E, and K. And when we call it a fat-soluble vitamin, what that means is the vitamin itself is in fatty foods. So you cannot access that vitamin unless your body can break down that fatty food. This is why bile is so essential. The bile is squirted into your intestines, into your digestive tract, mixes with those fats, and releases those essential vitamins. So unless you have the bile, you don't release those vitamins the same way. Why do you have gallbladder attacks? There's a lot of things that go into this, but a lot has to do with your dietary choices and the things that you are giving your body. If you are eating a lot of fatty foods, it puts a lot of demand on that gallbladder. Another thing that's really interesting is gallstones. What is that from? That's often because you're not getting enough of those fat-soluble vitamins. So you may be eating a lot of really greasy fried foods that don't have the vitamins that come with good fats. So you're getting fats, but you're not getting fats that contain the fat-soluble vitamins that you need in order to utilize minerals properly. So let's put this together. You're eating fatty foods, you're overloading your gallbladder, it's getting stressed and strained, but those foods don't have vitamin D3, vitamin K2, two fat-soluble vitamins that are essential for mineral use in your body. So now you have minerals that's coming through your food, but you don't have the vitamins that your body uses to take those minerals and put them into cells. So those minerals calcify in places that we don't want, including your gallbladder. So fatty foods that are deficient in nutrients stress your gallbladder, lead to more gallstone formation. You need to be eating foods that have those vitamins in them in order for your body to utilize minerals properly. So now you have a gallbladder attack. Feels terrible. You have stones. What do the stones do? They block the release of that bile. So now the bile is backing up. You're getting pain and pressure. You're still not metabolizing nutrients very well. And you go to the doctor and they say, we have to remove the gallbladder. Now, I know that there's a large percentage of people in our world today that have actually had their gallbladder removed. And here's one shocking thing. It's never been explained to them what their gallbladder did for them and what they need to do now that it's not there. So let's go into that. Remember, we talked about how the gallbladder holds the bile and has it ready for when you eat fatty foods. It also concentrates the bile when it's held in the gallbladder. So when the gallbladder is removed, your body still actually creates bile, but there's no longer that storage place for it. So it doesn't get concentrated. So it's very dilute. It's just constantly dripping into the digestive tract rather than being concentrated and released when you get more fats. What happens is there is a reduced digestion of fats. Your body is not able to handle those fats the same way anymore because it's getting a slow dose drip of bile rather than a concentrated boost when those fatty foods come. So you end up bloated. The food sits here rather than being digested. You end up constipated because those fats aren't able to assimilate into the waste. You end up with nutrient deficiencies, especially nutrient deficiencies that are mineral related. So what is that going to look like? Tooth decay, osteoporosis. You might end up with things like tonsil stones, kidney stones, gallstones, and even calcification or hardening of the arteries, which is minerals going places that we don't want them because you don't have adequate fat-soluble vitamins to utilize those minerals properly. So this isn't a good thing. If you don't have a gallbladder, you simply are not able to get the benefits of those fats. What do you do instead? Thankfully, there's something called ox bile that you can take along with food. So if you've had your gallbladder removed, anytime you eat a fat-containing meal, and I encouraged this, right? Not the fats that are coming in processed foods and a lot of fast foods. No, this is good fats I'm talking about. Things like butter from grass-fed cows, like salmon, things that have those good fats to be metabolized, like an avocado or nuts and seeds. These all have great fats. You need something to help your body utilize those fats better. So you take ox bile along with those fatty foods, and it's going to provide that concentrated dose that your body needs to be able to actually break apart those fats and utilize the vitamins that are found in them. It's so often that I see a patient that's had their gallbladder removed. They have tooth decay, they have other things happening, osteoporosis, other joint issues, and I'll say, all right, are you taking your ox bile when you eat fatty foods? And they look at me like I have two heads. And they say, what are you talking about? I've never even heard of this before. And I just scratch my head. Why is no one talking about this? There's absolutely a way to, number one, not have to have your gallbladder removed, but number two, if you do, to replace that bile when you're eating food so that you can get the benefit of food again. This is so important to know. What are you going to do dietarily if you don't have a gallbladder? So again, be careful with the fatty foods that don't have nutrients in them. When you do have fatty foods, make sure you're taking the ox bile, but really focus on things like fiber-filled foods. And where are you going to find fiber? Vegetables, fruits. It's the difference between drinking a bottle of apple juice versus eating an apple. The apple juice and everything that's in there is also all bound up with fiber. What does that do? Slows the release of all the vitamins and things in there. It also gives a lot of bulk for your stools, helps things move better. So if you've had your gallbladder removed, make sure you're eating ox bile when you have fatty foods and add a lot of fiber-filled foods, particularly fruits and vegetables, to your meals. It's going to help things digest better, and it's going to help your body utilize those nutrients better. So hopefully this helps you understand what a gallbladder really is, what it's used for, why it matters, why you need it, and what to do if you don't have one. Like I'd said, I've seen so many people that don't have their gallbladder anymore, and they've never been told this. I remember a patient, her name was Peg. She had real difficulty getting rid of weight, losing weight. She was always holding on to weight, couldn't figure out why she was just bloaty and didn't feel good after food. She was blaming it on all sorts of things. I must have food sensitivities. And so she'd taken a bunch of things out of her diet, but the bloating didn't go away. The symptoms she was experiencing didn't go away. When I met with her, we started talking about, why do you have tooth decay? Why do you have osteoporosis? And I asked the question, do you still have your gallbladder? She said, no, I don't have it. I said, well, this is the problem. Are you taking the ox bile? Never heard of this before. Started her on ox bile. She started eating a little differently, changing up the fats she was eating, making sure she had the bile with it, adding a lot of fiber-filled foods. She hasn't had a cavity since. And I always tell people, if you have holes in your teeth, you have holes in your bones. So she was concerned about this. She absolutely didn't want tooth decay, for sure, didn't want cavities anymore, but she was concerned about her bones. She's in her late 60s. She knows that this is something that women often lose, bone strength and minerals in bones. She didn't want that to happen. So she was really excited to learn about this. Hopefully this helps to clear up a little bit about what that gallbladder is for and what you do with it, or if you don't have it, and how to feel healthy any time of the year with any meal. This is all about what do your cells need, what are they looking for, and how can you deliver them exactly what they want. Take this and hopefully you'll be able to digest your food better and appreciate that gallbladder.